So what I normally do is, if I set up a system and I take the first 3 letters of the store name or the person or whatever. So you'll notice that we've gone to bry.csbsys.com, and you can see that it's called BRY test.
Okay.
For Bryce. And we can easily change the first 3 letters, or we can make it 4 or 5 letters, whatever you want. But anyway, this is kind of one of our normal test systems, but I've set it up for this training. It's empty. If I look at orders, there's no order. So I look at inventory, there's no inventory. So it's empty.
Okay.
If we go to, I usually open a separate tab, so I'll go click new tab. And or I could have just clicked on admin to go to the admin section, but I usually have one tab open for home, and then this is open to the admin section. So you can see that in the suppliers, I have 4 suppliers enabled.
Okay.
And the channels, I have 3D cart enabled. And then the rest of the stuff, I don't know. I don't think our users like to watch this as much as I do, but when the system's chunking, you can see, nitty-gritty stuff going on. Same with this. This is just a kind of log file thing, and there's some buttons here that we define to do some interesting things. But anyway, it's pretty much a brand new virgin system.
Okay.
Okay. So normally I would say to the person, you need to provide me access to your store. Now, there's ways of doing this where I don't need their admin login. So if it's a new system, I'll say let me have the admin so I can make sure I'm looking at the store. But if they're sensitive about it, we don't have to have that. We can get API access without getting admin access.
Okay.
But anyway, I would tell them you got to have a store, which is real similar to what I just said to that woman in Florida who has a brick and mortar marine store but did not have an online store at all. So she went into 3D cart and signed up. So let's have you do this. Sign up for a 15-day free trial. And I want your email address there.
Are we both typing? Is that what it is? We're both typing.
I was moving the mouse and doing some things, thinking, here, you run that, and I'll run the mouse. Boy, okay.
All right, so I've got an email in there. Go ahead and create my store, right?
Yeah. I might send you a text. Is that your cell?
Yes. Okay. Create store.
So one thing to consider in choosing a store are some of the add-ons and the ecosystem that they offer. Like, I was just talking to one of our customers a couple days ago, and he uses BigCommerce, and he said, can you take in orders from Google Shopping? And I said, well, we could add that, but BigCommerce has that already. You can just turn that on and pull it in from that source, and it just shows up to us as if it were a BigCommerce order, so it's simpler. So that is one consideration. And I don't know on that topic if 3D Cart has a Google Shopping integration or not. Anyway.
So I'm assuming under industry I was going to pick something related to outdoor, or they don't have anything that looks obviously to me.
Sporting goods.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but I don't see. Oh yeah, let's do sporting goods. Okay. Why am I choosing it? I'll say launch my business. What best describes you? A one-man band, I like that. Let's go ahead and pick that. Would you like to be contacted by an e-commerce specialist? I'd rather not right now. Agreed. Start building my store.
So this is mainly so you can recreate what we did and how it all worked as an example, right?
Right.
Okay. Okay, so this is the store. And actually click on products. I think they give you a few sample products just for print. I don't know why.
I'm kind of seeing it. I'm gonna adjust the camera here just a little bit.
I guess they give you a sample order, it looks like. But look at products, or click on product list. Okay, yeah, they're giving you a few clothing items to play around with. Go to products again and click on categories. Okay, so they've created 3 categories, it looks like.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe
Should I try accessories, see what that says?
Some subcategories, okay, I guess, yeah. So you can have categories and subcategories.
But I think that that's one of the things that we get to control because of your superpowers, Bryce, your secret sauce, and your knowledge of how to communicate with these things, with whomever the customer is, taking these finite points and benefits and everything, and these little tidbits and building some Tom made a good comment though. He was talking about that he didn't want to be, at least he personally, he didn't want to be all these other things. Hey, I've got somebody in the marketing department or sales who'd be happy to help you with that. I totally dig that part of it. It's really a question about how far do we want to go? What is and it'll expand or contract a little bit either way. But right now, in our first vision of it, what is it that we're really doing? What value are we bringing to the table for these end users? If we're just the cheapest, which we don't want to be, then that's a different model. And I think we've all conceded maybe that's an A/B test on something later down the road. But for now, it's really about what can we add enough extra value to relevant content, however we look at it, that grabs attention and drives people to whatever portal or whatever link we want to send them to, whether it's a social media one or the web store or whatever. Those seem like the things that are amongst the most important things to consider.
Yeah, one point let me make, and Tim and I have said, what is our lower threshold for the size of a company, of an online business that it makes sense for us to even be involved in?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're really, a starter organization and you're getting, 1 or 2 or 3 orders a day, you don't need us. Not for order automation, certainly. I don't know. I guess for inventory synchronization, maybe you do, but you can't afford us. And I honestly don't understand why some of our customers have done well, have built up an $8 million business, and $4 million and whatever, and others are scraping along near zero. I don't understand the difference. I think my position is we don't really want to, I don't think, be involved in the wannabes. It's, we just don't know what is standing in the way of their success.
Like the filter is that they've already achieved, even in determining their ability to show up for meetings or their ability to follow through or whatever, they've actually created evidence and they've put themselves in a category of qualified in some way because they've reached some minimum threshold level.
Well, that's kind of the right idea. Tom was explaining to me earlier today, just a half hour ago, actually, not that earlier, but that it's nice to have somebody that already gets it, that's already in this business, and they're doing well enough that they're frankly experiencing pain. They're saying, okay, I am in my jammies, but I am so busy. And I would guess that that's more than 100 orders a day. And then they say, wow, look at this thing. CESB is going to be a dream come true for me because it automates all these things that I'm having to do. So in one way, that is exactly what the filter or the criteria is. Finding somebody that has kind of maxed out. They've maxed themselves out, and the business is running them instead of them running the business. And then here comes this almost magical employee into their universe. We will take care of all this automation for you. And that's an interesting way to look at it. So you and I, George, are not, in my opinion, right, Tom? We are not we're not the target reseller.
No, we, and we sign up these people who are just starting out, and I know it's a strain for them to be paying what they're paying because they're not making any money, and I feel bad about that. I'd rather feel. What?
How quickly am I signing for a year, for 3 years, or is there a different rate if I commit for a longer period? Can I quit after 1 month? What are the options?
We don't lock them down at all. They can quit anytime.
And then it'll just be a prorated, or you finish out the month, or it's prorated, or what?
Yeah, finish out the month.
Okay. And then is that in writing with these people know those are their terms and everything, or do we need to develop that?
No, that's in writing. It's in their proposal.
Okay, very good. Okay, we are not the market. But now we know that what's cool about it. I first of all, Tom, awesome insight. I appreciate it very much. I think it probably will save us hundreds of hours over the time. So I'm very good with making a decision. It sounds like you are, Bryce, from the tone in your voice, that we are not, and we're going to establish a minimum threshold. We might miss it a little bit because we don't want to make it too minimum. We don't want to make it so high that there's only 10 possible people in the whole world who could qualify. But what those criteria are that would make for a good reseller, like you made some great comments, Tom, in your note. I sent you a little reply on it right when I got home about looking at it. You were looking at it through the seller's eyes. And the feedback you gave Bryce, I thought was really potent. And I sent you back a very flippant kind of little thing with, hey, you got one of those through the reseller's eyes? And so learning that's especially a big deal for me. Being aware of the pain points or whatever the fears and the things are that the resellers have, I'm blown away. I got to tell you, I'm all in, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to make us work as we're getting this together. So I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, but I would easily, if this weren't with the bigger picture in mind, I would probably walk immediately from the opportunity because I don't like the idea of, one, giving out my personal financial information to people in the first place. I thought worst case scenario, I'd be giving it to, in this case, to the folks at Seawide. And then that would take care of everything, and they're the ones. They know who I am. They know where I am. They know what I'm capable of paying. They've got my references, because you need references too, which makes sense. And sometimes references take a couple or 3 weeks to get back to you. It's just the natural cycle of the way the life works sometimes. Anyway, knowing now what the people who are successful, who actually get to this level, they've gone through a bunch of brain damage. They've gone through some pain. They've wanted it badly enough that they've at least signed up for one. If they've gone through Seawide, they've at least signed up for one manufacturer, I'm assuming. Since Seawide isn't the manufacturer, they're not the actual people who you're setting up the account with, or an account for that particular product. That's a good thing for us to know towards building the persona. It sounds like there are other things too, especially identifying who's not in our pool. I had an idea that you just killed, Tom. You just knocked off several $100 million of our exit, and I really resent it. One of the fantasies percolating in the back of my brain was the idea of having to start your own business. Hey, for only $5,000 or $10,000,
We've gotten distracted on various things. So we spent 2 minutes on our bringing up an e-commerce environment for Bryce Marine. Okay, so Bryce.
Where did you populate this information from? Like
What?
even the Bryce Marine and all those and the numbers at the bottom.
Oh yeah, what's the card called again? 3D card. 3D card automatically shows you some products. I'm assuming you could actually even sell those products, but it just populates a few things for you to kind of see what's going on. That is nothing that Tom did yet. That's just something they have.
Yeah, this just comes up with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I was gonna show Bryce what I did in the background to just link to this store, but I don't know that why you should care. But anyway, I did the little linky thing so that now I brought up a system, and notice it's called bry.csbsys.com. So I usually give the customer a 3-letter that, like my A1 Auto Marine is A1A and Northern is NOR and that sort of thing. So this is kind of meant to be Bryce's Commerce ESB store.
Okay. The only place I'm seeing that is up here in the where the URL or whatever is, but that's what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
If you were to log in, you'd see it on the login screen too.
Very good.
Okay. So this is
May I share one other thing? We can't get any business going with C-Wide unless we have a corporation established or a formal business license and a reseller number and a certificate from the state in which we're based or in which we're operating that says that we're a legitimate company. They will not work with us under any other basis. So there is no George is going to set up his private store or Bryce is going to set up his private store to just as a reseller to just get feedback and learn. I just thought I forgot to mention that. Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. So this store I brought up, it's kind of, there's nothing in it at all. And I have linked it to the new 3D cart store that we just made. Okay, so what would we do to actually populate our inventory? Okay, we would go to our suppliers, and I've got 4 of them defined, and I don't know, I guess I'll start with C-Wide and I'll work my way up. Alright, I'll click C-Wide and I'll say add the C-Wide catalog by desired categories. Now we can go in and some distributors that have marine, but they also sell guns and God knows what, we can restrict this by item category, but in this case I don't have any filters going, so I'm just going to pull in the entire C-Wide catalog with one button press. Click. Okay. If we look at our inventory page now, we went from 0 to 3,598 items.
Holy crap.
Now this has
that I guarantee you excites a reseller.
This has
when that suddenly happens, they're like, yes.
This has the C-Wide SKUs, and now all we need to do is bring in their full catalog to populate all this stuff. But
and align the two, right? And align the 2 SKUs. That's
right.
really the key to what you're doing right now.
Yeah, to find alternate suppliers on a single row or a single item, right? Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with Wintron. I'm going to say pull in the entire Wintron catalog. And now,
so if I'm using this level of functionality as a reseller, am I still under the concept or in the category of cookie cutter?
yes.
With what you're describing, but if I change my pull down menu thing, like what you set this up from saying bring over the whole catalog instead of part of it, if I say no, I just want to bring over certain things, am I still a cookie cutter?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, I just sucked in the entire Wintron. Now instead of 3,500 whatever, we're 8,871.
Where are you seeing the number, by the way?
Right here.
Oh,
Down the lower left-hand corner.
it's actually the top right corner.
Top right.
At least on the screen I'm looking at.
Oh, thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now let's pull in the big kahuna. We're going to pull in CWR. They've got like 25,000 SKUs all by themselves. And I'll click that. Now I can see over here, if I want to, how long it took. Well, it took about 2 seconds. Okay, instead of 88,000, if I do a refresh,
And by the way, is this some of the container is doing some of this? Is that why it's so fast now? Or
No,
is that's something related to just the reseller part?
Yeah, this is our older technology. This is the virtual
Okay.
machine stuff.
So there's no time issue at all.
Yeah,
I mean, it's doing it. I mean, I don't know.
And when you say time issue, you mean lag time?
Well, yeah, in other words, in some things in the computer world, when some things have to spin up, it can still be 5 to 10 minutes, but this is just completely insignificant. So,
And it's SaaS. It's direct on the web, right, in the cloud.
yeah. This is actually a data center using virtual machine technology. It's a data center in Dallas, Texas. They're
So part of the cloud.
you can look at it that way, I guess, right? Some people say data centers are, what's the other term besides cloud? I forgot.
well, they're not containers. They're not as abstracted as containers.
Yeah. Anyway.
And what's the answer? Well, what question what's the relevance of this, of what I just brought up? Does it have no real relevance in anything, or is it something to talk about?
No, if there were a speed issue, there'd be some relevance. There's no speed issue. The only other relevance would be if for some reason the data center is not as good as another data center, or charging you more or something. So that's the only relevance.
What about the concept that it's part of the cloud? Is that like duck? Is that so ill-defined? What's the real question? And I'm just not qualified to ask it.
If you wanted to say, we're cutting edge technology, then once we convert to the AWS cloud, then you can say, this is running as containers in the AWS cloud, and if someone wants to be impressed, they can. But
when do we do that? When do we start using the AWS cloud or become part of it?
my son is bugging me practically every day to just do the little things he wants me to do. He's trying hard to just get us converted. I think
and it's in our best interest, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. So when would you say, by the end of the year at the latest? Maybe even the end of the month?
Yeah, I mean, if I made this a priority and I just really worked on it, it could be a 2-week period.
Really, it's that much work, though, to migrate? Yeah, that's a good reality check. I don't know where that falls in terms of priorities. I know our priorities are getting stuff put together and starting to test and practice and see how and talk to individuals. I'd love to get back to this for a minute or two before you get kicked out, but that's kind of where my priorities are. If this is if this other side's the highest, I just meant to ask the question, not necessarily to change the workflow. Okay.
Yeah. Now we're sitting right now. Okay, it didn't take very long to pull in all the catalogs. Let me do a refresh here. So everything got populated quite quickly by pulling in all the information. So before we were looking only at SKUs, right? Well, now if I get down into the, this is the CWR section. You can see that their current quantities and current pricing that they're offering is in these two columns. We can see the manufacturer and UPC codes and manufacturer part numbers, all that good stuff.
Updated hourly.
Update as often as we want. Now if I come down all the way to here, I get into the image links and short description, long description. Some of these full descriptions here are actually a whole page. When we list this to the store, you'll see that you'll get like a whole page of description on some of these. It's hard to tell how long they are just looking at this.
And what is that kind of code? That just looks like, is that what you're calling XML?
Yeah, it is actually.
Okay, very good.
But
what?
Well, it is a type of XML, but.
Okay, I was just curious about that. So, okay, I'm with you so far.
Okay, so here's the part that's bugging me, because these formulas, what they're doing right now is they're doing all these calculated fields. So if I go all the way to the left, you'll notice that there are some columns of preferred quantity and total available. If I go a little bit over to here, there's a whole bunch of calculated fields. So these are getting populated. The current delivered price means that the system has decided the best option for a multi-supplier item. I mean, who's got the lowest price and all that. Anyway, it's doing all this calculation stuff, which honestly should only take a few seconds. And this is an area that I'm very high on my priority, just to get this. It's written in PHP in a.
Do you have the vision for how you're going to attack this problem or resolve it?
Yeah, and I've shown our guy. In fact, my son TJ said, Dad, you can program this. All it is SQL code, which is, any brain dead person can do that. And he showed me how to automate part of it as just a little tutorial. And then sure enough, it just went zip, and it was done.
Very cool.
So then he said, this is easy. So just tell your guy to recode this in SQL.
Okay, and is this just for the first time it loads up, it takes this much time, or is it every time?
Every time it runs these formulas, it takes like 5 minutes or something. Well, right now we're at 34,000 SKUs. Now, the problem is that we haven't done our consolidation step yet.
Okay.
What does that mean?
That means that the system will look at, what we mainly use are manufacturer part numbers and manufacturer names. So when we're pulling the information from the catalogs, like we pull it from Wintron, we get the manufacturer part number. And we do the same thing for C-Wide, we do the same thing for CWR. So each of those has that information. Well, if it's the same item, it's the same manufacturer and the same manufacturer part number. That's the main thing we use to find the cross supply or alternate supply on a row. But I have to go through I don't actually have to run these formulas. I guess I could have skipped this part. Anyway, it's basically 2 button presses to get it to squeeze all this down into about 25,000 SKUs instead of 33,000.
Because of the same manufacturer part.
Because it's going to put all the alternate suppliers on the same row, and it gets rid of all the excess rows it doesn't need anymore.
Sounds like a darn beautiful thing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you showed up, the people we start talking to do this by hand.
Oh my goodness.
They're figuring out, what alternate suppliers there are. They're pulling all this stuff in manually. And then the other thing I can do, if we wanted to list all of this inventory once we do the consolidation to Bryce's store, that's 2 button clicks. And if you talk to somebody who labors for days and days and days to put up a few hundred SKUs on a channel, that we can just push a button and do 25,000 SKUs. That's amazing too. So, except for these little time lags we're seeing as it's chunking its way through the formulas, the button presses. Okay, it finished finally.
Yeah, I saw it said it finished.
Okay, so now it populated. Like when we see.
I'd really like to understand this part more. I think I already get the other parts from just the way you've described it before and showing me with somebody else. I think when you were showing Bryce and I before, the invoice part is really. Is that invoice or inventory? Inventory. Okay, so that's not what the part that I was most interested in. Go ahead. Sorry. I was interested in the financial stuff in terms of whether things have been inventoried or not in the process of getting them ordered, or if that part's even in any way related to what's being done in the system. You talked about generating the purchase order. Is it also generating an invoice at the end, or can it?
Well, it generates a purchase order for the supplier.
That's the end of the transaction as far as we're concerned.
Well, we have to, once we send the purchase order, we may get an acknowledge. Only CWR gives us that. They all will give us back a ship tracking number when they ship. And then what I would call the invoice comes from the supplier. We have been asked if we can get that invoice from the supplier because they're the one who generated it, and we could, but I wasn't really seeing a reason why we would want to.
Are you good at guesstimating hours
Of what?
on that kind of a feature if you were to add it? And maybe that's too simplified a question, but is that a 100-hour thing, a 600-hour thing? Give me 10 minutes, I'll be right back to you.
If we wanted to just query the supplier and get the actual invoice of the transaction?
Yes.
Yeah, no, maybe it's a 2 or 3 day deal, but not a big deal.
That might be neat down the road when we're starting to look at some of the supplier functionality, if and when. Very cool. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So with this part's taking a bit longer too. The actual button presses are very simple, but right now I told it to consolidate all of this information into a single table that it will now process. I know we can make this more efficient and faster, but anyway, when I'm done with that step, then all I'm going to do is I'm going to click the search this table by manufacturer part number. I'm going to
What
click.
does MISC mean, please?
What's what?
MISC.
Miscellaneous?
Miscellaneous
Miscellaneous what?
buttons.
Okay. Thank you.
So when it finishes, I'm going to click 2 buttons. I'm going to press that button, and that's going to it's going to put all the supplier SKUs on common rows. Okay, so suppose the part was carried by all 3 suppliers. They each have their own main SKU for that item, right? If we look on the far left, I can see, these are CWR SKUs here.
Understood.
And if I scroll over, then I'll come to the CW, or to the, well, we call them ABC, but here's the ABC section. But you'll notice when I come into the Wintron section, the Wintron SKU is blank, as is the C-Wide SKU is blank, because they're not consolidated. It doesn't know that yet that C-Wide and Wintron carry these same parts yet.
But prior to you adding the secret sauce button,
Yeah.
or clicking on the secret sauce button.
Right, exactly. So once it finishes this kerchunking, then I'll click 2 buttons.
Why do I need what is the purpose of miscellaneous buttons? Is it a catch-all for like all the different things that are part of a specific process, or what's the logical organization of what miscellaneous is supposed to address?
These were designed to be buttons that I can make myself without any kind of programming.
Cool.
And since I have diverse miscellaneous needs,
Thank you. I get it. I was reading so much more into it. Go ahead.
so anyway, all I'll do is I'll click 2 buttons. I'll click this button, which does the main work of putting all these SKUs on common rows, and then I'll push this button, which will get rid of all the excess rows. And it has rules for deciding, who's excess. So, like it takes supplier rank. You'll notice on the main supplier page, I gave a ranking. I've got ABC, then Wintron, then C-Wide. So if all 3 of them have a part, because of the ranking, ABC SKU is going to win. We're going to throw away the other 2.
Oh, interesting.
Type thing.
By the way, this is the real duh question. I forgot to ask you this. Is this what you do on your end? Is this admin, or is this what I do on my end as the reseller? I didn't even realize when we're looking at this is all your end and the
No,
reseller.
you have access to this.
Oh, I do.
You can
Okay.
do this.
So that miscellaneous button, when you said that a second ago, that miscellaneous button, I mean, we could, if we wanted to, we could change it to the name custom or whatever. But anyway, that is literally something that I could do. I could go in and give myself something to do, some feature that I want to do, as long as I don't have to write any code. Is that what you're saying?
I think isn't the term reports like to generate, like if I wanted to, you just hit this like delete rows, _remove, and the search all sub items, Is there, am I still a cookie cutter if I say, hey, I want you to put rather than me having to click 2 buttons, I want you to throw both of those together and make them another button and get rid of those. I don't need them. Or maybe keep them on there, but I want a third button. It's my main button. Am I still cookie cutter if I ask you for that additional button?
Yeah, you're still cookie cutter.
Okay, go ahead. Just wanted to clarify. Sorry, Bryce, go ahead.
We're done.
I think we're being kicked out of this room. We're
Being
just gonna,
kicked out, so.
We're just gonna walk over to my office, to my desk, that is. So it's been bugging me that this takes as long as it does. I think it could be speeded up a lot, but anyway, it finished. And let me just, you know, I will admit that I think this is pretty cool that it does, because this would take a human a few years or something. But you'll notice that there's no C SKUs and there's no Win SKUs, right? Nothing up my sleeve. We agree that there's no cross.
Currently, it appears that way.
All right, I'm gonna push the button. There we go. I pressed it.
That one.
So what's it doing now?
Okay, so now it's analyzing all this information and it's deciding based on manufacturer part number and manufacturer name which items will cross supply. I mean, in other words, that this item from C-Wide is the same as this item from CWR, is the same item from Wintron. So it's putting the, you know, if they all three carried it, we would have 3 rows. Because under this CWR SKU and under the Wintron SKU and under the C-Wide SKU, we would have all 3 suppliers on each of the rows. We don't want duplicate rows, right?
Okay.
So this thing is also putting a little delete flag on the rows it decides can be removed. And this guy's running pretty fast, actually. He's 90% done. And that didn't take long, so I'm not going to worry about optimizing that too much. But I'm going to refresh my browser. And I'm going to go down to the Wintron SKU section. And voila!
By the way,
Look at
with
that.
that earlier part, we talked about 5 minutes was thrown out there. It wasn't really 5 minutes, though.
No, it wasn't.
It was maybe a minute and a half at the most.
Yes, it was not very long. Now I'm going to, if I go all the way to the end here, you can see that there is, well, I would have to flag for it, but there's this del row column, and it's keeping all these upper rows because Wintron is winning. We're going to keep these Wintron SKUs because they were the rank number 1, right? But anyway, notice there's 33,979 items in our inventory with a lot of duplications. I'm going to hit the delete row, remove. It's going to take out the excess rows that it decided were duplicates. Well, the previous system did that. And now I'm going to hit refresh. Make the browser refresh right here. And instead of 34,000, we have 34,000.
It still says 33,000. Wow, they're all unique parts, Tom.
No, they're not.
Okay.
What's wrong with that? Okay, so when you want to work with inventory, it's a good thing to know this little trick. So I'm going to say, all right, the delete row includes the word Y for yes. And there are none. Oh, it didn't flag any for removal. I think there's another script that I'm spacing on. I don't do this that often. Wait a minute.
Tom, realistically, because I feel very comfortable talking to you openly about this stuff, are recognizing that we're in a space where I'm going to, or I, the experienced reseller, are operating. This is my ecosystem, the one within which I operate. factors in any way to not having more referrals, or to the people who are not performing so well, maybe struggling because they're not bold enough, or they're frustrated and they're not coming to you saying, hey, when we click on this button, it's not doing its thing, or it doesn't whatever. Is there something like that out there, or do you think that's always room for improvement, but that's not an issue?
No.
Where would you on that?
No, that's not an issue.
Okay, cool, thank you.
I mean, this, for one thing, I don't know, I don't consider this very hard, but I always do this for the customer.
Cool.
You know,
That's better.
just because, you know, this is kind of an initial setup thing. So anyway, the system's done some nice magic, and I'll talk to our programmer tonight if I'm doing something stupid here, but it has found all the alternate suppliers. You know, we can see that. We would need to rerun the run catalog, because, you know, all it did was put the SKUs in place. It didn't populate information. So you'll see, like right now, here's the Win SKUs, but I don't see on the row how many quantity and what their quantity and price is yet, right?
Because of the other columns that are in the way from me seeing them, they're there, but they're not being seen. Is that the idea?
Well, I just need a refresh catalog now because it's got new SKUs to
I
populate.
need to get my head in that space.
So,
Refresh catalog is a big term here.
okay, so why are we refreshing the catalog? Because there's been an update in new SKUs, and so it's not current.
Yeah, it's plopped these SKUs in, but that routine could have taken the old information that it saw, I suppose, and move it over to these rows. But right now, if we were to look at, you know, like I could say, well, I want to look at the row that has this Win SKU. And we know it exists somewhere in these 34,000 rows. If I want to look at it, I could go up here and say SKU is that value, search, and, you know, here it is. And if I look, here's that row that we want to eliminate. If I was to look at its Wintron section, you'll see it's populated with all the Wintron information and everything, right? Yeah, but it's not flagged for removal.
Okay.
But it didn't take all this Wintron information and move it up to this, what was a CWR row, right?
I'm so sorry, I'm not following that part. It moved it up to a CWR role?
It's saying it did not. So, yeah, say it one more time, Tom. I don't think I got it either.
Okay, this entire inventory has 34,000 rows, right? All we did was we pulled in all three catalogs.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Now, at that point, we did the refresh from catalog. We pulled in all the catalog information that we want to have. One of the key things that populated was the manufacturer name and manufacturer part number. And we can see them way down here. Here's the manufacturer name and here's the part number. Actually, what we do with those two bits of information is we glom them together into what's labeled here as the man field. So we take the first four letters, and actually this is something you can change and make it 3 letters or 2 letters or 5 letters, but we take the first 4 letters of the manufacturer name, and then we take the manufacturer part number, and we glom them together into this kind of string. And if you know, I was talking to a new reseller, I'd say you might want to let us use this that string as your SKU instead of using, you know, the supplier SKU like we were doing right now. We can just tell the system to adopt that as your item SKU.
Right.
Which is, it's quite informative. You can see that, you know, this is an ACR Electronics part number 9403. And just by looking at that as a SKU, you know a lot about it. I mean, you'll recognize, you know, ACRE means ACR Electronics, and there's the part number. So it's an informative SKU other than, you know, like a CWR, which is just a 5-digit number, is not informative at all.
And are you saying that's another benefit of this system, is that it allows you to create customized, meaningful, identifiable identifiable, whatever, relatable codes, these PN codes that are the naming convention or whatever you call that kind of thing, protocols, are offer greater benefits than what anybody else is doing? Is that a feature benefit that is better than others?
Yeah, I'm not aware that who else does this. I haven't really checked into it, but
Okay.
I think it's nice that we can take the manufacturer part number and manufacturer name and stick them together. And actually, you have some freedom as a seller. You say, I want to use 3 letters, not 4 or 5 or something like that. And I want to flip them in the order.
And you're still cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so what the system's really doing is it's looking at that guy, and it's looking for common rows. I mean, what rows have that same string in this big system? Now, look at the ACR 9403. If I clear this filter, so we're looking at the whole thing again, you'll notice that
my
here-
screen just, okay, there it is.
here's one. I
Alright.
can color that row.
Now, what is that row? I'm sorry, my screen went off for a second.
So this is the CWR SKU, is the 110 number. That's from the CWR catalog.
Gotcha.
But we can see that this PN man thing is the exact same value as what we saw on the Wintron section.
Yes.
And what the system's really doing when I said consolidate is it's saying, okay, I'll take, start at the top. I'll take, ACR 19303. Do I see that anywhere else in the system? Ah, I do. Therefore, it's an alternate supplier. Therefore, I'll take that supplier's SKU and put it on this row, and I'll take this one on the other row. They all have.
Just so it's so basic and so cool, and I cannot imagine the amount of work. I'm sure you figured out ways to automate it a little bit, and then a lot, but I could see why people would not want to mess with this.
Oh yeah.
That's quite amazing.
Yeah, I think as you're in a seller just trying to do stuff manually, how on earth would you figure out, which suppliers have which alternate or supply the same part? It'd be a nightmare, right?
Right. You couldn't do it.
You
You
couldn't.
might be able to pull it off on maybe pick up an item a week or a month or something where you learned about that, but I cannot see that. That's just not realistic. That's awesome.
Right.
And my wife, by the way, just a squirrel moment, number 208 or whatever, my wife and I spent a great deal of time driving together this morning, and I was filling her in on details, and she was commenting on my enthusiasm and excitement. She hasn't seen me this way for a while and all that kind of stuff, which felt good. And I feel my energy growing on it and everything. But she told me that I was a moron. And I said, what? Because she really loves the concept. She thinks it's real. She's not interested in being an eBay superseller kind of dropshipper person, but she just thinks that the concept is great. And the reason I'm a moron is for 2 reasons. Because I had done a poor job of explaining a potential model to her. One is, that's ridiculous that you would only charge 0.5% to the sellers. And to the suppliers. This is worth so much more to them. Okay, sweetheart, that's a nice thing to say. But wait a minute, that's not why you're really a moron. You're really a moron because $495 is nothing. What's the biggest the biggest reseller out there that you guys have already? I think about 8 million because I thought I'd heard you say that number. And she said, well, do you realize that that if you can get somebody doing $8 million a year through your system at if you charge them 0.5% to the resellers and they're doing $8 million, that's like $40,000 or something a month.
I like it. I like that number. That's a good number.
And so I just wanted to throw that out there that I'm being called a moron, and I'd sure like to have some defensive fodder. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry to squirrel. It was just something I wanted to get in the conversation.
Oh yeah, no problem. So this was the main thing, that I wanted to show you tonight is just building up the inventory. Oh, then I was going to do a listing. Let's do a quick let's do a quick listing, I guess.
Okay.
Okay, so we have 34,000 items here, which should be consolidated to 25,000. But one of the things I want to show you was listening to the new store. Okay, so let's just do that real quick. Just did a refresh here. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, certainly Bryce, I don't remember if you were there, George, but I would consider one of the complications of bringing up an online store like this is categories. I mean, all the items have got to be in categories, right? So if we scroll down and look at what we're pulling from the catalogs, and like here's the CWR categories. Okay, so you can see category, subcategory. I think there are some. Here's one that's got a sub in this row here.
These are self-defined categories that CWR put on themselves in creating their content and everything. They organized it and threw it into these categories.
Right. These are the CWR categories. Now, if we were to go down into the Wintron section, we would see that Wintron has similar but not identical, not nearly identical categories. So that's kind of a complicated subject. I mean, what's...
Why is it complicated? It's part of their description already.
Well, let's suppose that...
I mean, to universalize it, like you, right? To universalize it so that you have an ACRE 2228 that you know is the same as the CRW number for it or whatever.
Yeah, we've done that part already, but CWR put this in a different category name than Wintron did, even though they're the same product.
Gotcha. Okay, we've got to figure out how to sort through that or redefine it so that it's identifiable and calculable and searchable and all that in all the other alternate suppliers' product.
Yeah, and I don't know any way to really automate that.
Okay.
I mean, the simple thing, since CWR is the biggest and they have the most extensive inventory, is say we're going to adopt the CWR categories, and now, for everything that they sell, we have cross-reference to other suppliers, but we're still following the CWR category structure, so everything's in one category. That's fine. Now, what do we do about Wintron items that aren't carried by CWR, or C-wide items that aren't carried by CWR? I guess we're going to adopt, their categories for that stuff. But there's probably some cross pollination where, lighting, electronic, whatever, should be consolidated into a single category because it's the same sort of thing. That's where it gets really messy, and I don't know.
Should be for whose benefit? When you say should, that's subjective. Should be for whose benefit? It should be worked out, or whatever you were saying.
Well, if I'm on, the Bryce Marine store, and I'm in the, lighting, electronics section,
Okay.
I kind of expect to find that sort of thing in that category. But because of this problem, I may have to go over into the Wintron section to see that similar category, and I see, oh, there's some more parts of that type in a different category. I think that's messy.
Based on keywords that somehow got attached to something, right? Some universal keyword or consolidation of categories, having a header for the category of, like you were saying, electronics or lighting, whatever's kind of thing. Is that the general idea?
Well, somebody at CWR has made up these categories out of thin air, and somebody at Wintron has done the same thing as at Seawide. I mean, they've just made up their own categories. I'm sure they make sense.
Why isn't it the same as a product description and the way it's treated? Do the product descriptions compare from one supplier to another? We don't know necessarily occasionally that the product descriptions from the same supplier are different on two different reseller systems. How does the identification, are there naming conventions that are industry conventions or something that because they're the gold standard CWR, are they leading the way because they're following some tradition or convention that already exists? Or are they leading the way because they're the biggest and they just figured out a way that would work for them and they rolled their own?
Yeah, as far as item descriptions, that's a good topic, because you'll see that each supplier has done different things with their item descriptions. Some are better than others. Even things like UPC codes, you'll find that some suppliers are more accurate.
Oh, really?
Yes, some of them are kind of full of typos.
Oh, no. Huh.
Or full description, but some of them might have better images than others. So.
And is that something we have to deal with every time? If they update their art in that hour, we get some updated art from them on an image or something, and it's kind of cock-a-poo-poo. Do we have to get involved in fixing that and letting them know, or was there some automated message when the image got uploaded that said, hey, this, like a pre-flighting is the term we use in the printing game, where it kind of pre-examines everything to make sure everything's there that needs to be there for the user interface thing to do all that it needs to do and how it presents it or shows it on the screen?
You can decide that CWR has taken a bunch of new pictures and they've spiffed up their descriptions, and that you want to take those and put them on your store. That's just a few button clicks to do that.
But it is a click. I'm making that conscious decision.
Right.
Gotcha. So if I go in and I change my database, or excuse me, I have typos from this darn guy. They're the cheapest, but I really want to use them, but their descriptions are so horrible, I'm going to change them in my system. Now I've upgraded, got rid of the typos, that maybe even added a picture or something, a smiley face, and now it looks great. And I can keep that one as long as I wish, unless they call me on the carpet and say, hey, you're using an old image or we like our wrong text or whatever. We can change it within our system as an individual reseller, the content, the product description, to fix it if we want to, yes or no?
Yeah, you can decide which supplier you want to take the descriptions or images or anything else from it. You can decide that you want to refresh at a given point anytime you want.
Are you telling me, just for clarity, are you telling me that I can go get the gold, if I'm a reseller, and I've got permission to use I've agreed on their little contract thing we learned about today with CWR, saying I'm going to follow their rules and live by whatever legal requirements they have, and I'm allowed to use their content and their pretty pictures that are higher quality resolution and everything through our system. I can choose to take all that high quality stuff because they're I'm connected to them, and I can throw it into the thing the really crappy product description that's on Elliott Brothers. I can just insert this even though I may sell the product in my product description, I'm going to take the one from CWR and pop it into Elliott Brothers. That's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay with you. Okay with you.
In your example, that part had a CWR part number, so no, they do not object.
Say that one more time. It had a CWR part number.
Yeah.
The product that I'm going to buy from. Oh yeah, because they're both selling them, right?
Right.
Okay, dig that. Thank you. I did space that. Okay, so does that not still? Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I'd love to. I think other questions are percolating. I just don't know what they are yet. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, while we were talking, I took all of the CWR categories and I moved them over to this 3D cart Meerkat, which could be called desired category. Okay. So basically, I just adopted all of CWR's categories, and I said, this is what I want on my 3D card store. Okay, and I just did a filter to say, okay, of the 3D card Meerkat values, how many are not blank? I see 25,080. So we now have a category structure we can use on the 3D card store for 25,000 SKUs.
Excellent.
That's it.
Okay, so it's there. Now,
Wow.
let's just list it. Let's list some. Okay, we can set any kind of filter we want. We could filter on some string in the title, like I could filter on ICOM or ACR or Ritchie, or I'm looking at stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just do a subset. I mean, I could press one button and list everything, but let's do a subset.
That'd be great.
So let's see, or we could look for a category too, couldn't we? So I could say,
Bryce, how much was your 3D card a month?
I'm on a 2-week free trial right now, so that was convenient. What does it end up being?
depending on the plan, like $79 a month.
Okay.
For the one we would probably want to be able to do this?
Yeah,
That's cool. Beats the cost of a brick and mortar.
true.
Now, so it's $79 a month and a percentage of the sales, or what do they do?
3D Cart's really good about the percentage of sales. That's why I kind of recommend
Okay.
them. The other ones do. You know, it's not bad if you're below 50 or 100,000, but if you get up to $1 million a year, it starts to really mount up.
Do you know off the top of your head what the difference is?
What the margin is?
What does 3D card charge percentage?
You know, I don't think they charge anything. That's why they're good.
Whoa, okay.
So you have an outside e-commerce credit card processor, electronic processor?
Do I?
No, they do.
Oh,
You don't use them for that role.
Yeah, because they would charge at least 3% for that.
yeah. Whoever's processing your credit card is going to charge you something around 3%.
But it's not a fee that there is no specific, like it's 3% for the credit card processing guy. There's no processing fee that you're aware of or that they're representing. They have some other, it's like lead gen for them. They have some other value-adding service or advertising opportunities or something that drives revenue and sustains their company.
Yeah, 3D Card has really low fees, and I'm forgetting. I wasn't seeing much there. It's like they were going to live on the $79 a month. They weren't trying to make more than that.
Okay?
Don't take me at that. I just know they were a lot lower than.
That's a commitment. It's all on you now.
Well, they're lower. Let me put it that way. They're definitely lower than
Okay.
Shopify and BigCommerce. Okay, I just did a couple filters, and I now have 36 items that set my filter. I said, first of all, I want there to be a category defined of these 25,000 that we just did. I also said where the title includes the string ACR. Okay,
All right.
so I have 36 items. I could have done this by a certain manufacturer or whatever, but here's how I list. I hover over inventory. I go to inventory reports. Now this defaults to, this is what we need to list this to eBay. And you can see I've got some other choices here. We've got quite a few more choices in here, but
What are they? My eyeballs aren't good enough. What are some of those choices?
well, this is like InkFrog. That's a general purpose listing tool. I mean, it's meant to be a listing tool.
Okay.
So by kicking out this stuff to InkFrog, they can do fancier things as far as, sale price and all sorts of stuff. Like that one is just,
I don't understand. That's a really relevant thing. Do we have, there's a sales price, if we're saying we're just going to charge 40% across the board or 30% or whatever the markup tools are and everything, how does all of that work with something like InkFrog in terms of we're adding fancier, more costly, maybe higher acquisition cost per customer or extra features that get added into a budget, chargeable features? What are they adding that they make it fancier and more functional or whatever it is. Is it something for a price, or is it some artistic donation to the world, or what is their thing?
That's a subject Tim knows more about than I do, but notice the name here says strike-through price. That's not something you're going to get just the way we're doing it. All we're going to do is show the item, and we're going to show the selling price. Doing it through InkFrog, you would have a, like your normal price with a strike-through, and then you're going to have your super-duper sale price showing instead, right?
And do you know approximately what it costs to have that sort of added graphic capability?
InkFrog charges some monthly fee again. If you're small, it's not much. $50, $100 a month or something. I think it's based on.
Is a portion of that $50 or $100 coming back to us, to Commerce ESB?
No.
If we're the ones who let our reseller family know about them?
No, Tim has had some conversations with their president, actually. And I don't know if he went down that road. He was looking for other ways that we could cooperate with InkFrog.
Were there any that popped into your head just since we're here? Were there one or two that said, that you thought, that could be cool if we could pull that off, that you can recall?
One of
the one I mentioned, because I can't even think of, I'm sure if we thought about it, there'd be lots of ways, but I hadn't even thought of any other ways besides that way.
One reason he contacted them is because they have a bug. They don't do stuff right, and our customers were complaining that this wasn't working right. It wasn't our system; it was their system. So that was one reason we contacted him. But I think he was talking about some other business opportunities. You'd have to ask Tim.
Okay, very cool. I'm thrilled to learn about them. I was not aware of them.
So anyway, I'm going to choose 3D Cart. Okay. So I just chose them, and the screen changed a little bit. I can see that the 3D Cart category is going to be under lighting, and then it's going to have bulbs and searchlights and accessories and things.
Mm-hmm.
If I scroll down a little bit.
Right, and you're calling that a sub?
A what?
A sub?
The stuff to the right of the line are the subs?
Yeah, it's a subcategory.
Subcategory, okay.
Anyway, we can see here's the long description and the image and all sorts of good stuff. Okay. With some systems, well, you'll notice like with eBay, let me mention this. If I look at the eBay report, this button right here that just disappeared, you don't see a button where my cursor is. Because all we can do with eBay is download the report and then let the user upload that report to eBay. Same thing with InkFrog. What we do is we download the report.
What's the report? What specific types of reports are we generating, and why?
These are all listing. These are all listing reports. These are all reports to listings to channels. But for some, like BigCommerce and 3D Cart and whatnot, when I choose them, you'll notice this new button appears: Update Visible Items. So this is nice because all I got to do is click this button.
Wow.
And I'm going to click it. Click. Okay. I kind of like to watch the console of it doing its thing. But, if we had not put a filter and there were 25,000 SKUs instead of 36, it might take it a few hours, but it would list all 25,000 or however many we want. Now here's the store. See, where do we see categories? Oh, here they are. Notice at the moment these are the categories that came with the store. We got men, women, and accessories, right?
Mm-hmm.
Notice that we're getting some action already.
Lighting.
Wow.
There you go, Bryce.
Wow.
As a fan, Bryce.
That is pretty cool.
See, it's still listing. It's chunking them up there. But
Now, exactly what is the technology here? So, is 3D Cart? How does 3D Cart talk to your Commerce ESB listings?
in this case, we are going through their API.
All right, but is this actually something that they have to hold on to this data themselves? Are they paying for some server space for all these images and everything, or how does that work?
Your $79 a month will pay for the storage of this information.
Okay. But it is literally on their cloud server or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
So now I'm a new supplier. I'm not in that marine thing.
Oh, that's where
But I'm a lighting guy, and I have a brand new product I want to bring to market, but I only have one product. So I'm a really simple supplier, and I want to go out to the whole reseller community out there, even though they're only buying one product through me. What can you do for me? Can you have the same level of functionality with just, even though it might be better to do it manually, but can you do me, the new supplier that has one product, and make me visible enough that I can be exposed to all resellers? Is there any magical, very deft way of doing that you're aware of as another part of this whole this concept?
I didn't understand that. Did you, Tom? Could you try that one more time? I don't think I followed you.
Okay, we can
Go ahead.
make any supplier visible to resellers that are using our product. And, certain asterisks in fine print here, but the way you phrased it was, can we make them available more generally? But no, I mean, within our product we can, yeah.
Within our product. So if I'm a supplier, I have our product, I'm the marine guy, and now I want to bring a single product on to the marine guy that's not marine. But I'm a supplier that's not doing marine stuff, but I want to get into your network and be a supplier. How small? A pretty small one probably at first, but maybe it's related somehow. Maybe it's suntan oil or something. I'm trying to think of something. But if I'm a new supplier coming into the system and I only have one product, and I go out to people who are already using CommerceESB technology, and I say, hey, I'm a new person, and you know how cool it is that you're a marine person. Hey, did you know that a lot of marine people also do this other kind of niche thing, and we have product, we're all set up to support you in CommerceESB technology. Is that something that is easy to do? I don't know what easy even means, but does that give a better picture? Is it still confusing?
Well, if you went to the reseller and said, here's a cool product I'd like you to sell, very few people sell it, you'd have some, good uptake, etc. I mean, it'll sell for you. We'd like you to list it on your channels and sell it, right?
Right, but the only difference there is that I'm coming to you, that marine industry guru that has this really cool CommerceESB hub thing, reseller hub thing. I'm coming to you and I'm buying it because I'm in the marine business. And between the top four, if you think between them, let's say they have 1,000 people between all of them, or 10,000, I don't know, but say 1,000 for easy math. And we go to all of them that are in the marine thing that already have access to all the stuff these four people have, the resellers who are already in the system. We've got 12 or more or so right now, not all of them kicking butt, but for those 12, if I have a new product and I want to go connect with them and be another supplier inside the CESB marine supplier hub network, is there some single product to offer it to all these people? So when I come up, I'm going to be the only supplier of it. You can't get it through CWR or Wintron or Seawide or whatever. You're just getting my product, but it's only one product, or maybe it's one product with 6 SKUs or something. What is it? Is that realistic to contaminate it with things that might be desirable to those people, but it's not currently being offered through the marine industry, but somehow you think out of a connection that makes sense now I'm a new supplier / manufacturer. Just one product even. Maybe you can get a 6-pack for a different price than a double pack, but you can buy 1, 2 through 6, and that's what the 6 SKUs are. It's really just one product, single product description, all that. Can I now be the 6th supplier that's in your network, or 7th or whatever? Make a deal with you for whatever, 0.5%, 1%, 5%, whatever you want, 200%, whatever is reasonable, right? Could I do that and exploit this technology and then be the sole supplier of the things because I'm not competing with any of those 4 main companies. Can I do that if I wanted to use this as a way into an existing distribution network with another product or an unrelated or not in that industry product?
Yeah. I mean,
Hey, thanks.
I mean, it's just, yeah.
Is it mega work?
No, I think, well, actually, a button that I've been meaning to add, and no one's bugged me enough for me to do it, but would be, there are ways to just add an item manually to this mirror, to this inventory.
Oh, very nice.
So today, I would have to just export it as a spreadsheet, and then I just have to add some rows manually, and I would import it again, or just those rows, actually. I mean, I can add new items that are unsourced. I mean, they don't come from any of the existing suppliers, right?
Hey,
And
George.
how do you reach out? How do you notify the resellers that those things are? How do I, as a supplier, use CommerceESB to notify them that I'm a new guy in town, or I'm the new product, as opposed to the sheriff, I'm the new product in town? How do I notify them, if at all, through CommerceESB? Or do you have an introductory service that you make money on, or is there a way to do that right now?
No, that's not anything we've done in the past.
Hey, I've got to just make a mention. We've got a hard stop. I'm getting a little bit uncomfortable because I was hoping to give Natalie a text message at least saying that we'll be on. So unfortunately, the phone is being used. So what do you want to do at this point, George? Do you want to... So I think I'm just going to conference call you in. But I think I should probably text Natalie really quickly, and then maybe I can call you back, or you can call me back, or I guess you could.
Close down.
I guess you could, Tom, if you wanted to, or George, if you wanted to call Tom's phone while I'm checking in with Natalie. What do you think?
Well, I'm actually thinking if we're ending now to have the Natalie meeting, then we should let this poor man go. It's 7 o'clock.
Okay.
He's only had 12 hours.
Yeah, that's true. Is there anything you want to finish up with,
No.
Tom, really quick, or?
No, this
This is actually, this discussion, we, as it has been so many times the last times we've met, we addressed a lot of different issues, and I feel much better equipped, actually. I don't know why. I don't know that I could put my finger on the things that make me feel so much more knowledgeable or comfortable or whatever. I don't think I have the words, but I know that just even focusing on this concept of the benefits of inventory synchronization and listing of the things that kind of, I knew they were there, I know they're valuable, but I think they became much more clear or defined in my mind, and that's very helpful in understanding the value. May I, if you would please, I'd be very grateful for an opportunity to maybe relax and maybe stop by or call you, or if you're an even coffee drinker, maybe we can have a cup of coffee somewhere or whatever that you are, rather. I really appreciate the opportunity just to have a little more understanding of where you see the possibilities for this in a way that the things that really turn you on, what those possibilities are. If you have, based on some of the stuff we've talked about today, or the stuff you've been thinking
Oh no.
He really got my brain going in the last meeting about other value-adding activities, because I was thinking we have to do a lot more work and have a lot more people and everything, but now I'm looking at it as if there's a lot of other intellectual property or potential markets and things that we could put together towards telling the story of, look what this company is growing to or going to be. Right now it's good enough, but look what it's going to be. It's going to be not better, it's going to be best, because we've honed in on these things. So don't you want to buy it now at this inflated price, knowing that this incredible vision that our team developed, that must be worth an extra $20 million right there, right? Kind of thing. I'd love to know a little bit more about your vision for the company if you're taking it to, it's, we've been in business for 10 years now, or let's say 8 years, because let's say 7.5 years. You've already done 5 of them. Now we have another 2 or 2.5 to go. Maybe part of it you're part-time as you're transitioning. If we don't sell it before that, maybe we do it in 6 months or a year, who knows. But just thinking a number to grab onto for vision purposes. We are going to,
I'm just gonna take another quick break before the conference call.
2 years from now, we are going to be the leader in the industry. We're going to have this many customers. We're going to have this many sellers. We're going to be the de facto leader. We're going to whatever. If you'd be willing to think about that a little bit, I'd sure love to just even understand where your mind and heart. I know where your brain are. It's awesome. I'd sure love to know those other things if you're willing to do that with me for maybe half an hour to an hour. If the time's available, I'd sure appreciate that. We're starting to work on outlining an agreement too.
Right. Yeah. When did you want to get together?
At your convenience tomorrow. My only commitment tomorrow is I have one from 6 to 7 a.m. and one from 2 to 3 p.m.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we could meet, mid-afternoon or something.
Great. Let me check my calendar. I'll send you something, and I look forward to talking to you then.
Okay, sounds great.
Thank you very, very much.
Okay.
Take care, you guys. I'll talk to you in a minute, Bryce.
Okay, bye.